tell me about this Japanese slave guy. Let's start there.
Man. You know, every once in a while you get this like, I don't know, bullish bully guy that's not a tattoo person.
Yeah.
That comes in and just like, he's not familiar with anything. And so therefore everything you tell him is wrong. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like just everything is like, what? Why? What are you talking about? And it's like,
and he really thinks he knows what he wants.
100%. And like I happen to know this guy from my previous life selling guitars, and he was the exact same way there. And yeah, it was just like, you know.
Do you think he's particularly like good and nice and decent to deal with somewhere else?
No.
Or do you think he just sucks all around?
And I don't think he's
sucks all around.
I don't think he's being intentionally malicious.
I do.
Oh.
100%.
I didn't actually talk to him so much, so I don't know.
I think that's the type of person that doesn't have like it's a game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it might not be anything.
Because like I'm like that in some interactions, but I'm also super not like that in most interactions, right?
No.
That's where I was going with it. Does it depend on where he is?
Yeah.
So I go by the rule of thumb is how do you treat people that you don't need to treat well?
Yeah, I do too.
So I am the guy that you don't need to treat well.
Yeah, you're the you're paid to help him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he can treat you like whatever he wants.
But the thing that he doesn't understand is that I can say, Rick, I don't like this guy. You shouldn't take him on as a client. And he's going to say, okay.
Yeah. Because it's a different kind of thing here.
Here, you don't get away with that shit. And I've been told that from day one.
This is a strange thing in this place where it's as if everyone is their own boss.
They are.
Right? Like, even like if you had a big boss that was paying all the checks, the tattooer is still just kind of like, well, I can tattoo somewhere else.
Well, yeah, I mean, you are individual
extent.
contractors, right? Like that's the thing. You are like, it's kind of like if you're a journeyman electrician. It's like you got your ticket, you can kind of go work wherever.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah,
but
great, I work for this thing.
You're also a service industry.
Yes.
So it's to the public, it still needs to appear as if you're, you know, at their whim to some extent.
And I do that for people that give it back.
Right. Respect is reciprocal.
Yeah.
You got to earn that shit.
Yeah.
Well, and not to mention, like, if he's doing a sleeve with Rick, and this is the interaction that I get now.
Good luck with Rick.
Only 13 more sits to go.
Well, not even that. Like, that means I have to suffer, and he has to suffer through every single interaction with this guy.
Well, you think he's hard for you to handle? Rick's not going to deal with it.
I'm good at it.
Yeah.
So if it's me having a hard time with it, you know this person is trying.
Yeah, see, I'm used to guys a little bit like Rick because that's how the old cooks were when I grew up. Like, it was like they were very gruff. Like, and so words were almost like real short and sweet. You know, like you didn't mince words.
No.
Or you might get your ass kicked.
You were just throwing them out there. Everything had a meaning to it, and you need to figure that meaning out and carry it out.
Yeah, it was always like real blunt.
Yeah.
But you got to the point of it.
Yeah. That's where, like, again, the thing just kept going through my mind of, like, this is what we do every day. And I said this to him. I said, this is what we do every day. If you don't like the way that we do it, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, because he kept being confused. He's just like, well, I thought, you know, I was going to draw it up and there's all this stuff. And I'm like, well, no. That's what's going to happen on your first appointment.
Yeah.
He's going to design it to fit your arm. And that is what it is. Half this stuff he's going to be drawing on you.
Yeah.
Because that's how it works for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, especially if you're trying to have a full wrap.
Yeah. And tying into something that's already existing. He's already been tattooed by Rick once. I don't understand why this is such an issue, but I think it's one of those guys that likes to make it an issue. I think this is the type of guy that will return a TV to Walmart 7 times.
What do you think? What do you think goes wrong in your, well, maybe not even in your childhood, but in your life?
It's probably childhood.
That you end up that way. Like, and how do we stop that?
Well, it's pretty simple stuff, right? Like, it's just dopamine.
Yeah.
You know, he's getting a reward from doing this somehow, which is probably because, like, he's putting someone else in a state of duress, so he's not.
Or maybe he's,
you know what I mean?
Or maybe he's been just kind of like
safety.
Gently
Deference.
fucked over by people he's trusted enough times.
Don't buy it. Nope.
If I can hurt you,
knowing
then
this guy, nope.
I don't have to feel too much pain myself. Right? I can
That's
focus
my
on
assumption.
you.
Which I would think would be a childhood thing.
Yeah.
Like,
I could see it.
It's just one of those, like...
so what exactly is it he's after?
Oh, I don't know. Every
satisfaction, but his
This is not
satisfaction is a
about the
moving
tattoo.
target.
Well, no. If he were to say, we're gonna do all this tattoo for you tomorrow, and it's gonna be free, he would have a problem with it.
Sure.
Guaranteed.
No, I can't do tomorrow.
Guaranteed. And this was the same thing when
you booked tomorrow.
Well, that's how it started. I had to rebook, because Rick had a sunstroke or whatever. So Sunday, I had to rebook his consult to the next day.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, he had a real problem with that. Guy's off work. He's not doing anything. Second day, so Monday, I come in because I was like, oh, at least I'll be here to kind of massage the consult if I need to, because that's usually what happens.
Yeah.
Dude doesn't show up.
Sure.
I call him and wake him up. And he's like, what? Was it today? I thought it was tomorrow.
Oh,
I was
no.
like, no, it was 5 minutes ago. Again,
man.
it's everything that could go wrong is going wrong with this
It
guy.
sounds like you're dealing with like your roommate that doesn't want to go to work or something.
He also clearly doesn't
Yeah.
realize that this is our job.
Yeah.
We're here every
Yeah, you're
day
not buds.
doing this for a living. It's not exciting and interesting every fucking day. We roll up, we're kind of hazy, we drink some coffee, we figure it the fuck out.
Well, this
like
is
everyone
also
else
like-
showing up at work.
Like, he thinks he's unique. And he's a person that thinks he's most unique, because that's one of those things where every interaction, every part of it, because you get this thing where it's like you can tell somebody something and they go, okay. And then you can tell somebody something and then they go, what? No.
Yeah.
Not for me. I'm me.
Yeah. Where's my crown?
Yeah.
And I expect my coffee to be brought in, imported, or whatever. Right? Like everyone else's coffee isn't good enough for me.
Well, that's where
Why
like,
aren't your toilet seats
Yeah.
warmed?
I have my favorite part about that. If they give me that, what? This is crazy. I give my response back to them as what they are saying is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
That's basically what they should feel after my next communication. It's just like, you think that we have a problem with this? Oh, that's weird because no one else does.
Right.
That's really crazy. We've been operating here for years.
Yeah. It's you put the onus on them
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like that's where with Rick, I was just like, yeah, that's kind of the way he does it. You know, he's been doing that for the last 17 years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Rick's
if you want to do that, great. If you don't,
process to
okay.
tattooing has not changed.
Nope.
His mindset has been the same since I first got tattooed by him.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, let's lay the bones out, then we'll like do this part. We'll do this. Like it's
Yeah.
always been that approach.
Well, I think some people just think it's a printer or something.
Yeah. No.
Like and not to mention, even if that could happen, there's no way this human being sits through it.
Well, I'll tell you what. Like when I was young into tattooing, and when I got my first few big pieces by Rick, because he did part of my back piece, like the big part of the middle, and then my chest piece, it felt like we were working on that stuff for way too long. I was like, God, why does this take so long? And then all of that stuff healed really well and aged very nice. Right?
I know.
And everyone else that was trying to do full tattoos in one day that
Yeah.
they didn't heal so well
No.
and they didn't look that good.
Yeah.
And then it was like,
There's a science to it, right?
I get it.
Oh, I get it. This fucking takes forever, but that means that it lasts forever.
Yeah.
That's the problem with
but
doing
when you're
things
young-
too rushy. You know what I mean?
I don't know how old this guy is.
He's older.
Sometimes young is a mindset.
Well,
When
this
you're
guy
young
just seems like
into-
he's stuck in it. Like he's been this way for a while, and
Well,
he can't
yeah.
just not.
I've met 50-year-olds that it's like you're talking to like your little brother.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell is this? You know,
Well,
you're pretty old now, bud. Like,
Well,
you're getting up there in
There's
years.
4 stages of brain development, and there's a percentage of the population that doesn't get to the 4th,
Yeah.
and that's a reality. That usually happens when you're in your 23 to 25 kind of thing,
Right.
and there's a lot of people that don't.
Well, as I said, those tattoos that I thought were taking forever ended up aging really well. And
Yep.
that chest piece, yeah, we did touch it up, but it wasn't a necessity. It was because
Yeah.
I wanted to change elements, make it darker, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't needed. I don't know that I would have ever needed to touch that up.
Yeah.
Really. It was just so bulletproof. And those stars that I had were like so black still.
Yeah.
You could still see them sometimes.
Yep.
Like they were pretty scarred around some parts, but like they were as black as they were day one after a decade.
Yep.
And
Well, that's like when I have to explain to people the length of time of what he takes. Is it's like, well, he doesn't.
how do
he
you
doesn't
quantify it to people?
Well, it's. I always have to explain, like, he doesn't care about today.
Yeah.
What he's looking for is 10 years from now.
Yeah.
And it's going to go the way that 10 years from now looks good. And you'll be happy with it 10 years from now. But, like, you're not going to get it done today.
Yeah.
And he's going to... unless you're a magical person that doesn't have the inflammatory response that most people do. But, like, you know, he listens to the skin as much as anyone I've seen.
He's very conscious of when skin starts fighting him, he's kind of done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's there's a change in tensileness. What would you call that? When the skin gets puffy, it's just like all of a sudden you can't stretch it in the same way. It's like rubbery.
I had some words for this, but we would say, let's just say tight.
Sure.
Let's say it's gotten tight, and now it's a little bit harder to get to the right level, know where you're at.
Yeah, and it's one of those, like, when it's harder when you're dealing with mags and things like that.
Well, now you're hurting the skin more
to
achieve the same result. So, you're hurting the skin more to achieve the same result. That means you're not achieving the same result. It means you're working harder to get an inferior result, right?
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, you're putting more effort in to get less return.
That's right,
And
exactly.
it can be done, but is it worth it? Probably not.
Well, that's one of those things when I see people online going like, yeah, I did this fucking back piece in 4 days.
Yeah, the
back
sprint
to back.
mentality really irritates me.
Yeah.
For my own reasons. The sprinting mentality, I think, ruins people for tattooing. Because then they think about that next time. Oh, man, I don't want to do 10 hours today. Okay, so do 2.
Yeah.
Do 2. You don't have
cool.
to do 10 hours.
Yeah.
Like, you can do it now and then, maybe. But, like, it doesn't have to be every time. And I think I got a guy message me the other day. Jer, I'm 40 years old. I don't take the pain I used to.
Yeah.
Or the way I used to. And I'm like, oh. And then he tells me, like, how long he sits for. I'm like, maybe just dial it back a bit.
Yeah.
You're more afraid of this tattoo right now than I ever am of any tattoo.
Yeah.
I've literally never been that scared of a tattoo.
Yeah.
Like, here's this 40-year-old telling me his story about his last tattoo session, and he's got another one coming up in a few weeks, and he's not sure how he's going to do it.
Maybe 3.5 hours is a lot, and it's just enough.
Well, yeah. Like I said,
Right?
sometimes I'm here for more or less. It depends on what we're doing. But people need to change their mindset. It doesn't have to be done today.
No. Like, I got spoiled because Lee does a whole arm
I
in
know.
3 hours.
That's different.
It's like, it's just he's an anomaly. And I like, that was when I started getting tattooed by other people, like collecting on my skull leg or whatever. It was one of those like,
This is what tattooing
okay, this makes
actually
sense.
is.
Yeah.
This makes a little bit more sense because, like, you get to that 2.5, 3.5 hour mark, and you're like, okay, I'm done. And then it's like, oh no, like 3 more hours, 4 more hours.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No,
Well-
I'm like, everything hurts more now. The skin is fucking hating you.
I had that in a big way because I switched, like, Rick and Lee almost traded off when
Yep.
Lee left on my blackout project.
There was a
right?
baton pass.
So it's like,
They're
okay.
so opposites in that, especially in that one regard.
Yeah.
So opposites.
And I was
Yeah.
watching Rick do that first bit of black, and I was like, oh, Jesus, what have I done to myself? Because it was just,
Yep.
he was doing Rick things, right? Like, it was, the process was going real slow.
Yeah.
But then he got so much faster in the end.
Yeah.
But, like, those first few sessions, it was like a little patch
Yeah.
where Lee would have took out part of a limb. And I don't know that it would have healed as well, but at the time, it just felt scary
Yep.
to imagine how many sessions I was in for.
Well, that's also one of those things that, like, when you're doing a big project, the further into that project you get, you just learn that person's skin more.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
you all of a sudden have an understanding of, oh, I've seen this come back. I know what it looks like when it's healed. I know what I did there. I know what it felt like. And you have this kind of familiarity.
Yeah, there was
and
a
and
lot
a
of
blackout
build.
seems so simple, but there's so much. It's such an intelligent way to start it is by learning that skin, learning how to get it smooth, and then
You
carry
don't
on.
screw things
Like
up.
my
Yeah.
personality, my style, I would likely dive into a blackout just as much as I can on the first day. Well, then suddenly I'm touching that up. Suddenly I'm trying to blend my next chunk.
Yeah.
Suddenly next time I'm trying to slow down and blend into that past chunk. Maybe not the best way.
Yeah.
Right.
just-
Whereas Rick's years of experience, he started slow. He built up. Then he learned his pace. He worked
Yeah.
into his pace and then carried his pace.
And there will be, whenever I get to it, if I ever get to it, there's probably going to be 3 4 sessions of touch-ups on the entirety of the legs. And I mean that. Like, there isn't much to do. Knees need to be brushed up.
Naturally.
There's a little bit of seam between some sessions. But what I'm doing now, it's like, do I even do that, or do I just put some new images over that eventually?
I mean, that's a great question.
Like, that's where I'm at with my legs. I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah, I guess as soon as you line up those knees, you're not going to see that bit of...
Yeah, you don't see it anymore.
Yeah.
I had a streak on my stomach that you don't see anymore.
Yeah.
It didn't show up in daylight, but in pictures you could see there was like a little line of like scar or something, and it always irritated me. It was like, what is that? I don't see that ever in real life. But here it is in a photo. This little like line of white on my stomach. And it just always show up in photos and never in daylight.
It's so weird.
White on black.
Very
bolts.
annoying.
Here we go.
Now that we put those tentacles there, it's like the camera can't see that anymore. There's obstruction
Something
in front
to focus
of it.
on.
And it's like,
Complexity.
whoa, somehow that black is more solid now. Like, what? No one touched that up. Why are the photos so bad?
Well, like taking a photo of black work is just a nightmare.
Yeah, we talked about that lots, but like I notice it less, or at least the camera notices it less with obstruction, with cover-ups.
What's the imperfection that draws your eye the most often?
What's that?
What's the imperfection that draws your eye the most often?
Anytime I can see an uneven like layer.
But is there one that's kind of your like pet
right now
favorite?
I have one that's really bugging me.
Yeah, where is it?
There's like a spot here I can't even
I can see it.
I can see it,
Yeah.
Right, this one.
It's just a little bit more gray than the rest because that shoulder is particularly black.
I know.
There's this one circle.
The problem is if I got Rick to touch that quick, because I'm sure he would do it.
Yeah.
It's just then it would be darker than the rest.
I don't think so.
For a second.
That's so dark.
It would get light eventually, but for a minute it would be a black patch.
Yeah, you'd have this like light patch became a darker patch.
Because we had that
Aw.
last year at one point. I had like this whole like shoulder plate was like dark and light and dark because we didn't blend the area, and Rick's black was a lot blacker than what was there, and so I had this weird like it was almost like a shoulder pad or something of black. And I had that with the skulls too. When we first blacked those out on my chest, there was just washy stuff all around the skulls, and the skulls are super black, and it's almost like you just turned the skulls black.
Yeah, great, good.
It's tricky, man. Like, you have to almost redo the entire thing once you touch it.
Pretty well.
That was part of the inspiration for the black on black. It's like, yeah, but if I start blacking things out again over top, because you can always achieve a blacker black, it seems like, then all of a sudden I have to redo all of it.
Oh, yeah.
So that it's the
no,
same.
thank you.
And the blackout, this is a great bridge into something I wanted to talk about anyway. The blackout project was more exhausting than I remember it. Like, I was watching back some of my first vlogs because I never have watched any of my old YouTube content because I thought it was awful, and I still think it's awful. But all of those videos were done during the blackout, like the early stages of it. So like the beginning of 2019, I started my YouTube knowing I was going to be going through this rapid change of my old suit to the blackout suit, and it was going pretty quick. But in those videos, I was so tired. Like, I was always so... And I didn't see one. I watched, like, 15 of them in the background the other day, and I was always, like, almost falling asleep during the videos. Yawning. Actively yawning.
They're filmed Wednesday night?
They were filmed Wednesday or Thursday.
And that makes sense. Like, Wednesday, you podcast.
Well, we weren't doing the podcast
Oh,
then.
fair. Okay, that's...
I was doing... This is when I was with Lee.
Right.
We were doing the
really? Okay.
top torso. Like, the first part of the blackout.
Yeah.
Well, I don't really include my right arm in that because I was done in 2017.
Because I'll be honest, if I go through even a 3-4 hour tattoo session, when I get home, I'm like kind of on a different planet mentally.
Oh, I generally am a little bit.
I'm out in space a bit. Well, I don't get big sessions often, so like I'll get home and I'm like kind of out in space. My brain chemistry's all weird and messed up.
We were doing like, say, we're going to tear up the whole side of you and then touch up a whole chunk of your arm. Like sessions like that where we would do like an entire rib cage and then hit the arm too. Like things like that, like real aggressive behavior. I had my longest session with Lee ever, 5 hours. We did the whole side, part of my stomach, and the entire left arm one day. There's a great picture I post every now and then of me
Saniderm.
Crying.
Saniderm everywhere. Like my whole body is in Saniderm.
I'm picturing one of those body casts off Bugs Bunny. Where
Pretty
you're in
well.
yeah.
That's how I felt. I couldn't move. My arm was stuck like this. Like, because it was all taped together.
And then in the morning it's Saniderm, so you probably have to peel it off, and there's like a liter of plasma in there.
Well, if I
easily.
recall correctly, I went home and threw up that day. But
I bet you did, yeah.
like, even on the less intense days, every single video I was actively yawning. Like, my eyes were like closing on me. My voice sounded hoarse. Like, I was in a state
Everybody
of...
thought he was doing heroin off screen.
Yeah, I was like, wow, was I walking around like this all the time? And like, I
seems like I
babbled
got
so
shot.
much. Like, I was just like,
I swear
now
I just got tattooed.
my vlogs now are at least focused on a point generally, and I can keep around that point.
I'm picturing you actually like elbows on desk, scratching your head.
Pretty much.
like-
It was kind of like that. I was like, well, you know, guys, I'm pretty tired today. It's like, how are people liking this?
Well, that is something that we don't talk about a lot, is the physicality of getting tattooed. Like, that beats you up. You know what
Yeah.
I mean, like, it beats you up more than people expect, especially if you're doing a large area of coverage. Like, if you're doing an outer half sleeve or something like that, that's a lot. Your body, it just wants to sleep. It just is like you've done the hardest workout of your life in one
Yeah.
specific area.
Well, that's what it looked like. It looked like I just got back from a long day at the gym.
Yeah.
Like, and it was every one. I was like, jeez, because some of them would be like updates, because I had no
Yeah.
frequency to my vlogs. It was like whenever I felt like making one, that's what I was doing, because I didn't even know what I was doing. I should probably have some track of this. Someone might find this interesting.
Yeah. Sooner or
So it
later.
was just like, this is 3 days after a throat blackout session, and just wanted to talk for 37 seconds. Like, seriously, there's a few of those where it's just me checking in and sounding off on where I'm at.
Yeah,
And
people
it's-
like that, though.
Yeah, but it was terrible. But when I think about blacking out everything again, it's like, after watching that, thank God I'm not doing that right now.
Yeah.
Because that didn't look good to me right now. Like,
Says the guy getting 9 or 11 liner tentacles on his chest.
somehow not as painful.
You're wrong.
I mean,
I agree.
you
So
might be
wrong.
right. Like, I might be wrong, but like, I don't know. Some of those stomach days were just so brutal. The stomach blackout. Where it's
I
like,
can imagine,
Oh my
yeah.
Well,
God.
that's different. Like, I don't know. That's just different. There's like, I remember
but
seeing
a liner,
that.
like 27 meg is rough, but a liner is still somehow
Well,
worse.
and Rick is taking his time too.
right.
Like, I'm not
right.
reinforcing that mentality of like, let's move slow and like, let's make this as good as possible. But like, we're not in any hurry, so like, these days aren't going to stop anytime soon. So I better be okay with them.
Yeah, there's
Like,
pros and cons to
we've
working
been
slow.
working on the stomach now like 4 times already.
Yep. Well, this should be session 4 coming up, right?
We've done 1, 2, 3. This will be session 5 for this.
Wow.
So, and we just got 1 tentacle done last time, so we're gonna do 1 at a time, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like, we're gonna be in this for, I think, the year. Really, I really do.
Well, I mean, you guys haven't even touched on white ink.
And the
yet.
white ink's gonna be even worse.
And it's already April, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
I
but
hate it. Time's moving too fast.
yeah, it's get to like it, because you're in it for a long time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I said it on a recent vlog I did, but like, I'm kind of cool with this hurting as much as possible in a way, because now it's like everything I'm doing is in some weird, like we said, you may as well be tattooing with a fucking magic wand.
Yeah.
You're in the upside down now.
Yeah,
you really
so
are.
it's like,
Yeah.
well, if it has to hurt, then for this to be a thing, then that's what you get.
Yeah.
Like, it's whatever the fuck it feels like is what it needs to feel like.
Really, yeah. And I mean, like, you're in a place of adventure. So
Yeah.
pain goes well with adventure, I think.
Yeah, it
It feels more worth it.
yeah, it feels more rewarding at the end when you're like, well, it sucks, but I mean, that's what you have to do, because we can't do conventional shading methods. Like, you can't just go, oh, I'm going to black and gray shade this to life. No, it's got to be dots and different line weights and stuff.
Yeah,
like
you're not going, oh, I'll get my 9 meg out and brush a little bit in.
I've never had anything shaded the way we're shading now. But it's not because, oh, this is his preferred method to shade.
No, it's just
not at all.
The necessity.
Yeah, so it's what you have, right?
Well, it's, that's one of the things he was talking about the other day is like, he's like, I'm just going to use every tool in my toolkit. And I was like, cool. That makes sense. Like, I mean, he's challenging himself in all of this, which I like to watch. You know what I mean? I like to see when people are like, I don't know what to do, but I'm going to push me as far as I can push me.
It's fun to watch, too, because his personality type, or the way he carries himself and projects himself, at least, he doesn't seem like someone who's going to come here every day and is putting that next step forward, that taking a step forward here and there, experimenting with new things and showing he doesn't.
Seems like the old dog mentality.
Yeah, he seems like he's got old dog mentality. He doesn't project that, oh yeah, I'm going to really try on this, or oh yeah, I'm really going to push and experiment and improve. So it's really interesting to watch him do that.
It's interesting for me too.
And make it seem like nothing. Like he's not making a big deal of it. He's like, nah, here we go. This is my plan today.
Well, his thing is internal. Like, even when you see he did that, he's doing that wolf piece or whatever on that lady, and that wolf half sleeve or whatever, and he's just like, this might be my favorite piece, and like you wouldn't know it.
Yeah,
you'd just be like, oh, he's just tattooing something, but like he's doing things to challenge himself to try and make the best thing at all times, but he does it so quiet. It's all internal.
And the things that make that his possible favorite piece are things we would never notice.
Yeah, exactly.
It's some part of the process.
Because we look at it and go, oh, that's a nice wolf.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Yeah,
cool.
It's something
really
where he
cool,
faded
man.
this to this, or he put a twinkle in the eye, or he did something that we didn't even notice. He's part of the tattoo. Yeah. But to him, that really, I've connected with this piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He sent me a meme the other day randomly on Instagram.
Love that.
I was just like,
he sends me those pretty often.
He's never sent me one before, and I was just like, okay,
because I've never responded.
Well, I just said haha, like I don't even know. But I was like, am I one of your boys now? Like that's what I was thinking. I was like, did I make it?
Yep.
I mean, one of these days we gotta go party with Rick. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I was honored. I was like, look at that. He sent me a meme.
I just keep telling Rick the same thing that like I would tell my buddy Devin when I worked with him, because he's also an anomalous person like him, and it's just like, if I do that, if I go party with you, I die.
Yeah,
guaranteed. I can't do
too
that
soft
life.
For that life.
Hey,
legit,
the owl's
like,
even closer now.
Yeah, that's fair.
We got to do some shit this summer.
That's fair. It is in our alley.
Yeah.
Their mural.
They giving it a bunch
cool.
of money. The owl.
That owl.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Thing,
the
that's
mural,
really
big
cool.
time.
I heard they were giving.
I heard
giving them
mule.
a bunch of money to try and revitalize the area, like bring more people in, and because like everybody's scared of being in that area, right?
Everybody's scared of downtown in general.
Of course.
But they're fixing that whole street. That street's getting a huge facelift.
And anyone who's opening on that street,
you think that's
going to
do anything?
Stipend from the government.
Are they really?
That's what I've heard, to try and like incentivize them to like.
It's a drop in the bucket after the $4 million facelift.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Dude, like, okay, so this is one of those things that I always think of as like really.
Dude, I moved to the north side, and just at Age Newark, I was like, way less interaction with shady folk on my way.
Yeah, it's weird, but like, here's my question. So, just because you make something look nice, right? So say you've got
lipstick on a pig, my friend.
Yeah, just because like Kim Kardashian gets all the surgeries, does it mean that she's better?
No.
So I don't understand this idea of like, we'll just put money into the way that this looks.
Third Ave did get better in a lot of real ways.
Wow.
They've improved lanes, they've improved traffic
driving
flows
around that area now. That matters.
Yeah, it's because they've changed it. They've improved it for pedestrian activities.
Yeah.
So they've actually revamped parking.
Isn't the speed limit and the weird one-lane thing. It's that there's always construction.
Yeah.
Like it's always down.
Yeah.
Now I'm just like, I'm not even gonna look.
So that's
they had
part
that
of this
whole
too.
road ripped up, and then they ripped it up again, and I'm like,
but
always like that.
I've done these revamps on streets before. In downtown St. John, I did a couple of like duct banks under the city. And that's where you're actually moving overhead power, overhead communications, and you're installing infrastructure underground. So there is actually a bunch
I'm not surprised to hear that.
Yeah,
No,
there is
not
actually a bunch of... Again,
add that
one
to
of
the
the
list.
one of the 5 electrical companies I've worked for.
5.
Yes.
Okay.
I was going somewhere with this. Oh, so they have actually improved things.
Okay,
They have actually
but
improved stuff.
This
If
is
we
where
were like time stamping, it would be Scott's
Yeah.
Scott's job.
Yeah.
Like it would be like 35 minutes in.
That's
Scott adds another
Scott
job.
talks jobs. Yeah.
Job talk with Scott.
Duct bank.
So okay, this is one of those things where I find our city very interesting when it comes to these types of infrastructural changes. So we live in the windiest place ever,
Yes.
right? And we are encouraging things that people don't interact with very well because of said weather, which is we have maybe 2 months of summer, maybe,
Right.
and we ripped up 7th Ave to make it a bike lane.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Like we're
was the
trying to go.
worst.
We're trying to go for Denmark style
Yeah.
traffic.
Yeah.
And then it's the same like with what you're talking about. Like, okay, we're gonna make it easier for pedestrians. Nobody wants to walk around
No.
downtown.
It's like-
Everybody's scared shitless.
It's like saying you're going to start a food truck.
Yeah.
Or a ice cream truck in this town.
Well, like,
You're like,
okay,
there's
so
nobody outside.
like Allie, she was trying to take garbage out the other day.
Yeah.
And some guy, some transient guy, starts harassing her in the alley. Of
course.
And I was like, okay, well, you don't take the garbage out anymore.
Yep.
Yeah,
and
Because that's a thing.
That's
here.
her fault for taking the garbage out.
Yeah,
Like,
I
that's
guess,
the mentality that
somehow.
the city has, though.
Really?
Because they defend it.
Well, it's like,
Like they
okay,
defend
we have
the behavior that's happening
yes,
out
of
there.
course, because it's
So
somehow
it would be her
it's,
fault somehow.
Well, no, it's like you could have called the watch to escort you to
Yep.
get the.
Well,
like,
why didn't you
what are we
help that
talking
guy?
about?
He's vulnerable.
Yeah,
Like,
just
that
because he
whole
was
thing.
asking you about your butt doesn't mean that you couldn't help him. Like what?
Yep.
It's
Yeah,
insane.
there's no line that's too far for them anymore.
So this is one of those things where I go like, okay, so you've got an underlying issue here, and you're failing to talk about it because that seems insensitive.
Yeah.
But we're going to put all the money into cosmetic changes to technically enable that behavior.
I've heard the argument of like, if you ritz up the place, those people won't want to hang around there anymore.
That didn't happen.
That's the
I
opposite.
don't think that that's
Yeah.
true.
I've been a
No.
lot of nice places in this planet, and a lot
Well,
of
they'll
them
think that the people
are
that are there
filled
have
with
more money,
vagrants.
right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
like when
the
you've
nicer
got,
you make it, the more stoked vagrants are on it. I
Yeah.
promise.
like the water feature garden.
Yeah.
You think kids
Oh
are
my
using the
God.
water feature garden?
There was a minute where it was kind of like,
The water feature garden is kind of like the bike path.
Yeah.
That's usable for 2 weeks a year.
yeah.
Welcome
exactly.
to Canada.
Well, and the people that are using it to shower.
Yep.
Which I mean,
Positive, I guess.
Well, they had that part
That's not
cleaned
its
up for a
intent.
minute. They had it cleaned up, like I think it was like 2012. They had
Yeah.
it cleaned up for a bit, and then it got worse again.
Well,
and now
like
it's
they did
never
that-
been worse.
They did that bathroom because they were like, "Oh, we'll try and help," so that way
Oh,
people
my
won't
goodness.
use public bathrooms in restaurants and stuff like that. And it was like, "Oh
This is
no,
a
this
death
is
trap.
way worse." Like,
Yeah.
oh no,
You know what it reminded me of is like, I don't know if you ever watched Chappelle's Show, but there's a character named Tyrone Biggums.
Yes.
And
Of course.
there's the free crack giveaway.
Yep.
That's basically what that was, in my opinion.
oh, 100%. Yeah,
It was like a fly trap for
yeah.
them.
Well, like
Come
that's-
get it.
But this is all because we're failing to acknowledge that we have an issue as a city, and it sucks. Like
Yeah.
we're dealing with it in the worst ways, and I can't pretend to say that I have a better way, but our ways currently
Yeah, I don't
are
know what you do.
escalating the problem.
Because like, there's no good answer. It seems like.
Oh, I've got many answers, but I don't think they're good.
on a
Yeah.
positive side,
Ooh, DMT darts. That's a good idea.
Spirit
DMT
quests
darts.
for everyone.
Yes, DMT darts.
so I'm gonna try to keep this commentary as neutral as possible because it's such a divided issue in this town. But the supervised consumption site was a weird one because like my knee-jerk
Would have been
reaction,
done well.
my knee-jerk reaction
Did-
and morals are like,
Yeah.
don't give them a place to do the bad thing. But then you do the reading and the research on how these establishments are supposed to literally help people and help them get their lives back on track.
That's not what they're there for.
I'm not... Okay.
Uh-oh.
That's not though. Supervised consumption site is just for use and for.
So they don't die while they're
There are
using
supposed to be
drugs.
people
Yes.
there on hand, however, that will guide you to help if you want.
That's
not
right.
this facility,
No.
not in Arches. No.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that the SCS in this city
Yeah.
could have been much better than it was.
I agree.
And what I'm saying is, I'm not saying they're there to push you into getting help. I'm saying that there are supposed to be people there that
That's
if
right.
you've had a breakdown and you're wanting
Which
help.
obviously the studies I've been reading, the pro supervised consumption studies I've been reading, have obviously been including stuff like that.
Yeah,
Well, there's
which I wish.
multiple.
But that's the concept, is that there's less fatalities from opioid crisis, and people can come in out of the cold. They're not like rotting away in some crack shack somewhere. They're hopefully here where it's acknowledged and they can talk about it and they could ask someone for help. Anyway, moral of the story, we closed that thing down. Let's call it political pressure, even though it was definitely like budgetary structural issues. So
It was one lady, basically.
yeah, one lady. Yeah. But moral of the story, we shut it down. And we had big protests over this. We had I went to a protest here and there was 300 people on each side of the fence. One yelling for, one yelling against. Very dramatic. We shut it down. Nothing changed.
Yeah.
Not a
it didn't get
thing.
better.
Not a thing changed. It sure didn't get better.
No, it got worse,
congratulations, we shut her down. And look, we were all protesting for nothing, it
Well, I think
seems.
the idea was that
no
I
change.
heard people saying that people were coming here to party because it's
Well,
lawless.
that did happen, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so the idea is, well, if we shut down this center, then those people will go party somewhere else.
Yeah,
But they
just
just
stayed.
didn't leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so this is one of the weirdest things about ours. Ours, in terms of these Arches facilities, we were the highest use rate per capita by far.
Yeah.
Average use rate for that facility was 100 and something per day, and ours was reaching up to 600 per day, which means that our population that is in need of this type of facility was inflated due to something, and usually it is because people were coming from other places to have a safe place, which is my thing of the reason that we need a safe place here is because we have drugs with stuff in them. Just general heroin use, daily heroin use, is not as dangerous as when you have something spiked with something.
Not as dangerous.
Yeah, you can have
That's for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The actual compound of heroin is easier on your body than you doing morphine every day, which is what they can prescribe
I was talking to my mom about this because she's been smoking pot for basically her entire life.
Yeah.
But she was hiding it for most of her life.
Yeah.
And I was talking about how when I was with my ex, she was basically stoned 24/7. She was wake and bake kind of. I had no problem with this, really. She was better that way. But my irritation was always dealing with the scuzzy people you had to deal with to get it.
Yeah, the illicit nature.
The dealer would show up and he smelled like shit and
Yeah.
he'd hang out at your house and he's
be a
petting your
creeper
dog. He's in no hurry to get things done. Sometimes it's 110, sometimes it's 95, sometimes it's moldy, sometimes it's amazing. It's just can we get rid of this guy?
Well, this is where
I'm so happy we got rid of this guy.
This is where I'm driving. Weed all of a sudden
Yes.
became very conversationalized.
Very clean,
And
very
Clean.
acceptable.
very reasonable,
and no more scuzzy.
Yeah, and this is where I think the argument for a supervised consumption site is within that community it allows conversation, but we're at a place where we need to get past just within an isolated community. We need to get to a place where we're understanding it as a society, because most people are just scared of this stuff, right?
That's what I'm saying. And knee-jerk reaction,
because
I
of
still
that
want to be
weird
scared.
element.
Yeah.
Knee-jerk reaction is still want to be close it down,
It's
lock up
that-
the
Yeah.
junkies.
It's
But
that
that's not helping anybody.
No, it's really
Grungy,
not.
gross aspect of drug use that needs to go away.
Well, and the risk factor, now you can go to a store, buy weed. There's no chance that weed has fentanyl in it.
It's going to be the
There's no
same
chance.
product more or less every time.
It's also not oregano.
No,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Congratulations,
You know,
it's not
a
lawn
grab
trimming.
bag of
I think I'm
I wonder
high.
if it's good this
Yeah.
time.
But
Try buying weed in Vietnam. A, it's punishable by death.
Yeah.
And B, it's never weed.
yeah, or what's that one that
That's
was
the funny part.
What's that one that was if you have suspected drug use, they shoot you?
Oh, yeah, Philippines.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
We're not even
jeez.
taking a chance on you.
Yeah, just sleepy guys.
Yeah.
But I kind of think this is we're still trying to isolate an issue rather than put it kind of out into daylight. And I don't think I don't think the idea of just using a substance is as scary as what people think it is. And I think that we need to get to a place.
It's broken
culturally where we
community
can
and
kinda-
support structures, man.
Well, but that's the underlying issue. And then the coping mechanism with that underlying issue is a substance.
That's right.
I think that like.
But now, how do you rewind from here until this is in place?
All I'm saying is everything we've done to try and rewind has made things worse.
Yeah. Our first crack at it here sure wasn't good.
Yeah.
No.
They really didn't need any kind of corruption or any figurehead taking money.
And we will say, as much as the supervised consumption side is supposed to help and statistically should have helped, it didn't.
No,
it didn't.
Not in our particular case. But what
it's supposed to help at as well, from if we want to look at a very cost-benefit analysis, where it's supposed to help is generally relieving our healthcare system, because if there are people there to administer specific help on site, it's leaving the paramedics free to help Nana after she fell and broke her hip.
So that's not what the paramedic on site there told me.
Oh no, okay.
No. Because they have a paramedic on site for that reason, and he gets tattooed here. And he said the big issue that he had was that there's nothing he can do for them there other than stabilize them until the paramedic arrives.
I heard.
So I'm working on wrong information.
They were getting burnt out because they get these guys up, and they would almost be, well, not almost be. They would be angry at them for bringing them back.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen.
The Narcan thing.
So A,
really
working close to there, and B, I was actually I had an entire mushroom trip in a hospital one time. I had just we had just dosed.
We need to clip that out and put it on before a podcast, like in the intro.
Yeah, I had a mushroom trip at a hospital one time.
That's
everyone's greatest nightmare.
Too.
So it's the last place I want to be.
So we had just dosed, except for one guy, and then another guy, a buddy of mine, showed up. And he wiped on his bicycle about 200 feet from my house. And he got a big old gash in his arm and on his knee. And he's like, "Hey, Scotty, you got some Band-Aids?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't really use Band-Aids." "Oh, Band-Aids won't help here." "Okay, we got to go." So fortunately, Josh was sober. So we jump in Josh's car. We head to the hospital. And then we're sitting in the ER. My mushrooms are kicking in as I'm like talking to triage going, "Can we get some like ice or something? He's looking real green." And she's like, "Just sit there. Let me know if he passes out." So anyway, that was not enough to hear. "Just sit there. Let me know if he passes out," was her response. So anyway, my job being the high guy in the room was kind of like just to keep the mood light and not worry about too much stuff, because I don't need a bad trip any more than they need me to have a bad trip. So I'm hanging out and making jokes. We're keeping it laughing. I'm keeping Nick all right, whatever. So once we finally get into the little room, right outside of our little room, where we wait for the doctor for an hour and a half, is this guy who's clearly overdosed. He's strapped into this bed. He's like kicking and fighting and screaming, and he's taking like 6 or 7 staff members' full attention just to keep this guy wrangled. And it's like, this is not productive, boys. Like, once someone's hit this point, like, I don't know, he doesn't seem to want you to help him. He's trying real hard to not let you help him.
Well, it's because like you get in, like so there's a number of things that end up happening with this, but it's like this stuff is a very heavy nervous system depressant. So what ends up happening is as soon as that Narcan hits, all of that stuff's gone.
Right.
And so it's like you've just been in a warm, fuzzy blanket
for 4 years,
and now you're in icy cold weather.
Yeah.
So you react the same.
Your entire nervous system is on fire.
Yeah. It's the same for alcohol. It's the same for, well, technically weed too, because like you know, if you use weed to sleep consistently over many years, once you remove that weed, you can't sleep.
Yeah.
And it's just all these things that we're using substances to dampen or encourage certain pathways, and then when you remove that substance, it becomes real messy. But anyways, like, so this guy was just saying, he said they've only added cost by having the paramedic on site, because he's like, I can be there, but I don't have a hospital. I'm not equipped to do anything. All I can do is keep someone stable.
But he can administer Narcan.
Yeah, that's his main function.
Yeah. But anybody can.
And mostly CPR and things like that, right?
Yeah.
So, but he said the ambulance still gets called, so it does not decrease in terms of the costs, because that was their whole thing, right?
Yeah. They always had ambulances outside of that thing.
Yeah. So he said it's actually increased their budgetary costs, and these are those decisions where it's like, we're doing it because we think that this will benefit, but it's increasing cost. And from the person that is administering it, I heard that it does not work. And it was one of those like, I get the logic. You know what I mean? Like, well, we'll
we
just
had
put a paramedic on
paramedics
site.
that come in as regular customers, and their stories were always like, we're getting tired of bringing them back in a way because they hate us for doing it.
Yeah,
they
of course.
want us to leave them alone.
Yeah.
They don't want our help.
Now remember that this is the supervised consumption site is generally an act of the left. You know, it's the lefter leaning side of the Overton window that's pushing this forward, and also the general opioid crisis. However, so a lot of these cost benefit analysis are saying the cost doesn't matter if we're saving human lives, right? So as much as my friends, the people I know, that are like, because I've got just a few people in my life that are super crazy pro supervised consumption site, right? Mm-hmm. They're blind to any negative impact. It's all for the better. It's all got to work. Read all the studies, is their general opinion, and they've become so biased they've blinded themselves to the actual reality of like, no, you can have an actual conversation about this. I know it is or can save lives. However, there are downsides.
Yep.
There are negatives to this.
Well, it's hard because those are...
No, we're saving lives.
Yeah.
There's no... It's the Disney of it all.
Yeah.
Sounds great. You can't put a price tag on that.
Well, that's decisions made out of emotion.
That's right.
Right? Any decision that's made out of emotion is probably not the best. Because it's failing to take into consideration a broad spectrum of information because you focus on the things that are driving the emotion.
Yeah.
Right? Like death. Everybody's real worried about death. In
society, though, we wouldn't have a lot of what we have.
No.
And we wouldn't have.
Oh, yeah.
We wouldn't have any human rights almost.
That's right.
Really.
Well, you need a balance.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that
this is where I think it's swung maybe a little bit too emotional.
Well, I think emotion gives the right direction, and I think logic gives the right execution. Mm-hmm. Because obviously the emotion is coming from a real place that you want to do something, right? Mm-hmm. But if you're making practical decisions of how to execute that out of those emotions, I think that can get a little squirrely. Whereas, like, I think if you can have a healthy balance of that left and right, in terms of like, this is the issue, we want to find a practical, pragmatic solution to it in the best way for the solution.
Mm-hmm. Too often what you see is the extreme left versus the extreme right, who would rather just annihilate one another than have any kind of a conversation. So it's like, a bird needs two wings to fly, right?
Yeah.
This ain't going to work with one wing.
Well, both of those extremes are both based on emotion.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, anytime you're in extreme anything.
So I've got a fun emotion versus logic thing.
You get the logic. So that's one to quickly say real quick.
Yeah.
You only get the logical, intelligent approach near the center.
Yes.
Of either side.
Because the logical approach understands the value of both.
And someone trying to be center is trying to understand both sides.
Exactly.
Yeah. I kind of just said that.
Rather than straw manning one another all day.
Yeah.
So I met one of my new neighbors on Saturday, and she's walking her two little dogs. She's coming over. I'm like, oh, hey. She's clearly like gonna come hone in. Like, oh, you bought a house here? Let's talk.
Yeah.
She's coming over. Okay, great. I'm not busy hit with like 8 friends trying to move my stuff. And she walks over and she's like clearly trying to handshake. And I'm like trying to, so we'll do elbows. And she finally gets her leashes off her hand and does the thing and gets her hand out. And I'm like, no, we'll just, this is my handshake now.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, are you scared? I'm like, no, just being smart. That's it.
Well, here's the thing. She was looking for a fight at that point.
That's right. Exactly.
No, she's looking for commonality. She's looking for commonality. Evidence that you're in her tribe.
Exactly.
But this is like this in a polarized society that we're in today. I think Scott's best answer is to go to this.
Yeah.
Because even if he was going to go for a handshake, it's better to assume that it's safe this way.
Not to mention, if you're going to be in this climate, I'm going into COVID, aren't I? That's no good. I'm not.
I'm just saying these are the things that people are looking for. For safety. Again, I have the more I look at everything, the more I just think people are afraid to die, and a lot of these things are based on safety and making sure that they're okay.
Right.
And
but meanwhile, her reaction to shake as many hands as she can during a pandemic is an emotional one. She's looking for safety by finding her community. So she's actually feeling a lack of community.
I'm hoping my neighbor feels the same way I do.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then I'll do that to my other neighbor and the other
So
neighbor.
she's looking for safety in a very different way by acting emotionally in a way that's actually less safe. Oh, weird. Because technically,
take a
well, in her mind,
real
she's perceiving it as more safe.
Because I actually had another topic I wanted to get to anyway.
Yeah.
And rather than go down an old familiar lane,
we will not.
Going down,
I just like the psychology of it.
When I was talking about my vlogs earlier, there was another branch I was going to take. Was that when I was watching my old vlogs, I had a smaller lip piercing, and I couldn't get over the fact that I had more range of motion in my lip. So I've actually downsized my lip.
I was going to say.
Oh, I see it.
But it's a trick to do that. Like, it's no easy feat because this thing wants to keep stretching itself.
Huh.
Like, we had a Remy Reacts where it actually leaked, right? And I had you edit it out because I was like, that's embarrassing, right? Like, I'm okay with talking about it because this stuff doesn't get any daylight. No one ever talks about anything like this.
But to be on camera sitting there talking while it's happening right now.
Well, you know what? It doesn't happen often.
Yeah.
Like that's only happened to me, I think, twice ever. And it's generally when I'm squawking nonstop. Then everything loosens up. But I watched my old vlogs and my lip functionality. I couldn't argue with it. It was like, wow, I'm able to talk quicker and articulate better.
Ah, fair.
And it's not even like that I can't when I have the bigger one in. It's just that I've gotten used to talking with a mouth that only goes up and down now.
It's just harder.
I'm working around an obstacle, right? And so I've been thinking about going down in size anyway. I've been trying a few different things. Like, I got a hollow piece made. It's really light, but it still had that big, like, it has like two big wings that like sit up on my lip to keep it from going through. And I finally decided after watching those, I was like, maybe it's time to take another journey of de-stretching, right?
Well, that's another thing nobody talks about.
Well, you know what? Comfort matters.
Yeah.
But the problem is, as I've said before, when you're in these kinds of journeys, you just keep wanting to go up. It's like, I can get bigger. It doesn't look big enough. It doesn't look big enough.
Anything that feels like you're going backwards.
Yeah.
It's like, I just won't go there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But now...
It always has to be forward progress.
It's been more than a year since I stretched it the last time. And I've had more complications the bigger it's been. And it's like, I don't want... And it's even started trying to stretch bigger on its own. Like, it was like, I'm ready for a 28 millimeter. It's like, I don't want it to be bigger. Like, you see...
Calm down, lip.
Well, because it's like moist, and when you're talking, the weight is like pulling down. So I could easily have put something like 2 sizes bigger in.
Crazy.
Like, because it was just expanding on its own.
So what you're saying is, I'm going to bring some sutures to work.
Yeah.
And we're going to fix this thing up.
Well, I was curious, deeply curious, because I always said I think I could probably de-stretch it. So over the last week, I've only started this 3 days ago, I made the decision Sunday that I was going to leave it out all day. So conveniently, we have to wear masks at work, so no one can see that I have it out. So here I am. I have no jewelry in my lip, but I'm chewing gum. I'm living. Like, it's not bothering me to live with it naked. It's
bit leaky though?
No leaky. It only leaks.
Wow.
It only leaks when I eat.
Yeah, that would
when
make
I
sense.
drink, it's fine because you can just, you lay your thing back on your tongue.
You're creating a vacuum.
Yeah.
You're creating negative pressure. So
yeah, I don't leak when I drink. I leak when I eat, though. Like, not even food chunks, just moisture.
Yeah,
it's like
saliva. Yeah.
So anyway, for the last few days at work, have been working with it out. This is the longest I've had a piece in. And right now I have one of these O-rings on the inside too, and it's 2 sizes smaller than my, I think what I've been wearing is 26 millimeters. This is 22.
Wow.
And I think I'm even going down to a 20
nice.
Eventually. Like, I'm going to keep going back until, because already I can see lip function has come back.
Yeah.
And it's only been 3 days.
Huh.
And it's just because I felt like I looked like I could animate a little bit better.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I was in my head, I was like, am I just making this shit up?
No, you're not.
Like,
I can see it.
can you?
I actually noticed that in the first
Yeah.
like 10 minutes today. I was like, something a little bit more on point with Jared today.
Yeah, it's easier to
Yeah.
articulate.
Yeah, that makes
And-
sense.
I feel less worried about weird shit.
Yeah.
Like, there's back of my head, I'm like, is it gonna leak?
Yeah.
Well, it was more like you would hit a couple of questions or statements in a row, and you would carry more precise intention along with it. You know, like the way we speak carries so much meaning and importance.
Yeah.
And you just had a couple statements in a row and a couple questions in a row
Well,
that just like carried the meaning and the intention more directly than usual. And it's like, something's different.
In my old vlogs, even though they were terrible and ranty and I was tired, I was noticing that I was speaking quicker. Like, because I'm still thinking the same way. It's
Yeah.
just the words were coming out faster.
Yeah, of course.
And with less worry about, well, if I talk too fast or like if I get going too crazy, maybe it'll leak or like any of these things. that
What I'm learning is that I need to get a big old plug right here so I can finally learn to speak like a normal human.
This is not an advertisement
Slow down just a little bit.
for LeBray. That's
You think you
for
talk too
sure.
fast?
Sometimes, yeah. There's like probably half a dozen times each day I need to repeat myself because I just like, blah, blurted it out.
You
I
just
gotcha.
Yeah.
verbal diarrhea. Well,
Yeah.
I see that.
Well, just the thoughts are all ready to go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, Kevin, hold on.
See, I
I'll
can't
try
do
that again.
I can't do. Well, I can do that right now a lot better than I could last week.
Yeah.
Like I can even feel myself speaking and articulating better.
Yeah.
Right. And I didn't want to believe that though.
Yeah, of course.
Like I was always very hesitant to admit that.
Yeah.
And because people will be like, you can't even talk with that. It's like, no, I can talk. You clearly can't hear and you're not looking.
Yeah.
Like I could speak. But there was always in the back of my head, it's like, yeah, it probably is worse. Like, how could it not be? Because the other
That's
piece was
fair
like,
logic.
That is
actually.
fair logic.
but it's you don't want to believe that about anything that you're doing.
One thing you love.
Anything that you love.
And then you love, you're like, could that actually be a downside? I don't want to see it as a downside.
Well, it's a proponent of some form of like, this is my addiction, right? And I don't want to stop it because
Yeah.
like there's some part of me when you get to that last size where you're like, I'll just keep going. It's like no, because that's not comfortable to live with. And where does that end?
Dear audience, this is what mushrooms and psychedelics are for.
Oh, yeah,
For-
psychedelics.
For confronting
I did
your
already say
own
DMT
inner
darts.
preferences.
Yeah, I know you got your DMT reference in. But I'm thinking about this was only 2-3 days that I've gone down 2 sizes, and
Yep.
fortunately for me, I have all my old jewelry.
Yeah, I was going to say. It's
But-
good thing you didn't sell any.
Yeah, well
was
I had
pi-
people ask me to buy it because
I know.
it's expensive as fuck.
I'm
get one.
I was just
picturing
thinking
with
you
like
could
a
have-
pirate's treasure chest.
I have
Yeah.
so
Jewelry.
much.
Yeah.
I have a bag of these. It's like, it's full. It's like the size of this cup. It's like a little cloth bag.
Yeah,
and it's just
yeah.
full of Lebrays of different sizes
Goodness.
and dimensions.
We could make the largest piece a non-fungible token.
Ooh.
Well, I see people going.
Have you seen... Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I've started seeing this. This is like a new technology thing that's coming out for Bitcoins or whatever. Have you seen these like where you can make your own coin
No,
as an artist?
that's pretty cool.
Oh, dude, it's wild. Because like the whole theory now is that like you can invest in individuals. So you get you're paying currency for their token, and it's a stock. So as their stock increases as an artist, you're an investor in them. It's wild. Like I follow this podcast from a band, you know, Emery.
Yeah.
So now Emery has they call it Swalls.
NFTs. Swalls.
Yeah, because it's like $ walls, and that's their Emery coin. So now you can buy an Emery coin or multiple Emery coins, and that gives you access to certain things because you're an
goodness.
investor in Emery. And the value of Emery coin is market driven. So now each Emery coin right now is $3.42 US, and it goes up and down like stock.
So remember when I was talking about cryptocurrency?
Dude,
Oh, good.
I know. But like, you could have a Remy coin.
Oh, I'm
so,
sure.
So here's the trick.
Yeah.
What you're talking about here is dilution and inflation
Yeah,
of the entire
World.
imaginary currency market.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like
It's crazy.
But it's it's what's going to happen.
Yeah, it is.
It's because, like, especially in an art form, like if you're a musician or if you're a director or something like that, and you're normally needing funding, this is like crowdfunding, but different. This is crowd investing, because like crowdfunding is like, okay, here's my money, give me a product or something.
Crowdfunding.
Yeah, but you're creating your own individual stock market that can rise and fall, dictated on your success and the market that you're in, which is wild. It's its own little private stock market.
And just as bad as Venezuela pumping new cash into their economy.
Sure. Well, it's different.
It serves a similar function, though, in the broader NFT crypto markets.
But okay, so say this is different. Like, let's take it out of musicians and out of these digital things. But let's just take it as stock. Okay? So if you call it something different and you just go like, "Oh, I've got a company and I have stock and I'm selling this stock, and the capital that's raised from the selling of this stock is to go towards infrastructural costs and things like that." That's normal to us. And all that's happened is that stock has now been replaced with a different version of something, and the business is either a person, a company, an artist, anything. So it's all of a sudden it's taking the stock price market, or the stock way of looking at things, where you can invest in things and your capital can work for you and you can sell it later and all those things. And it's just giving it more of a private sphere.
So
on something that is like a business.
Do you want to go down this rabbit hole at all? I've got a couple thoughts on the subject.
You can go wherever you want.
So,
just not back to COVID.
Fun thought. This isn't even this isn't so much an anti thought as much of
I'll get us back.
Hey, look around the corners. So the stock market is governed by entities.
Sure.
So the governing entities of the stock market are actual governments and stock exchanges, which have a lot of laws and a lot of legality written around it. I don't want to go to any examples, but there's a million laws surrounding stocks, exchanges, and markets. Rules governing exchanges, and exchanges having rules governing types of action and how the market works. And that includes your rights as an owner of a certain company, as a holder of certain stocks, et cetera, and your relationship with your broker, right? So Bitcoin is super different. Bitcoin is internally regulated. It's regulated by its complexity and how it needs to be conducted to simply work. That's how that's regulated. Then you start getting into these NFTs. Suddenly, how that's regulated is way different, because it's not internally regulated anymore.
No.
And it's not externally regulated.
Yes.
So you're exchanging money for ownership that doesn't have rules. So I'm really curious to see where the information gathering comes into play, how the advertising dollar will be affecting people's decisions in these arenas.
Oh, 100%.
I have a lot of skepticism as to how there's even more money going places. So here's the thing: anytime we take money out of the market and put it into something that is not growing the economy, that's still inflation.
Why is it not growing the economy?
So this one's a bit closer, because you are actually investing in people and things, but it's still growing art. Art does improve our lives, but it's still not propelling our lifestyle any further ahead.
Well, one could argue that as artists grow, that enables them to do things that would grow the economy.
Sarah always gets after me whenever I say art, it comes when society's doing well.
Yes.
She's like, no. Art creates society so that it can do well. That's what she thinks.
However,
I think that's an artist's view of it.
Right. I know.
And we've broken through
See,
this.
I have more pragmatic and more logical stance of, when we're doing well, we can have art.
But we've broken too many glass ceilings.
We can't do well without art, Remy.
When we talk, we need art for society.
Yeah.
Sure, there's going to be painters and jesters and jugglers and all kinds, tattoo artists and things.
Yeah.
But do we need to pay Cher $60 million fucking dollars?
If I can't afford to eat tonight, I can't afford to have a tattoo.
Well, but this is where like the market itself, because like one could argue that what the barrier to entries that end up happening within those spheres. So it's like, say you're Cher and you have Warner Brothers or whoever she's signed to, and they have the ability to assign capital to her marketing and the ability to do all these things and hire the best and blah 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 blah. That's because somebody at Warner's decided that capital is deserved by her.
Yeah.
And they create infrastructure around that. So all I'm saying is, rather than it being A&R guy A at Warner Brothers, it's now market.
Yeah.
And that market is deciding whether or not that coin is worth anything.
Right.
That market is deciding whether or not people want to buy it. That market is deciding whether or not Cher should get $60 million.
Yeah.
And that's a truer form of art than is, hey, we just put this out here and we're forcing you to hear it on radio at all times, and it's in every goddamn movie that you watch, and it's a commercial, and now she has a scent, and it's, but like, if you have that same entity,
I just imagine, what if instead of paying,
that's business.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like, what if instead of paying
business applied to art,
sports players billions of dollars paid to athletes and actors and
but there's a reason.
Yeah, there's a reason.
There's a reason, because economic
infrastructure. Reason whether we like it or not.
But what if so suppose people in the middle class here were given $30-$40 a month through Spotify subscriptions and various forms. What if we're each giving $30-$40 a month for these kind of overpaid entertainers? What if instead we put it into something, I don't know, crazy, like developing new renewable technologies?
How do you get that money
cleaning
out
the
of
ocean?
That,
we are.
Or
but let's continue on what Scott's saying, because like,
right? Well,
how do you redistribute that, and how do you all of a sudden go, sorry, Cher, you're not getting that anymore. Now you're making $40,000 a year.
Yeah.
Like, you can't.
Welcome to
this is
communism,
supply and
bitches.
demand,
Exactly.
right? Like, it's like you can't suddenly just seize all that wealth that they've been used to getting for. Because I've often thought that sports teams and celebrities and stuff, it's like, what are these numbers? Like,
Yeah,
they
these
got
numbers are
paid
crazy.
$80 million.
No,
What the hell are you
those
talking
are
about?
mild compared to what they're worth to that organization.
Oh, I
so
understand.
Think about LeBron
But
James.
it's not mild from a cook's standpoint.
Sure, yes.
You know what I mean?
But say you're a mega cook, okay?
Sure.
Say you're mega cook and you can cook enough food to net a business $1 billion.
Yeah.
Okay? Just you as mega cook.
Yeah, it's mega.
So
cook,
what is your value to that business?
Well, I would think that it's much higher than it is.
Sure, because
Right.
you're profiting them $1 billion. So
I am
what do you
mega
think you
cook.
should get?
So
You think
I
you should
probably
get
make $20 million out of that.
20 million. So you're making 2%.
Yeah.
Do you think that's fair?
I don't think that that's fair, but it's still more fair than working for Mega Cook and making, 20,000.
Sure. I'm just saying that like your value should equate to.
I'm not. I understand
You know what I'm
supply
saying?
and demand. I
'Cause,
know
like-
that the market will bear what it will bear.
Because say Cher gets $60 million, but she nets Warner Brothers $300 million.
So this is some weird idealism stuff. This is more where we're killing ourselves with capitalism, right? Because what we're paying football players $20 million a year to entertain us
for a reason.
Yes, but the reason is just capitalism. But what if instead our pooled societal advancement went toward, I don't know, reforming how we farm and creating better pasture turnover and greener, healthier ways to make our food? Right? So this is my idealist shit. I'm not saying I have a solution on how to get there, but I'm saying our society is sick.
You need somebody to come in and just say, all the money is being pooled, we're putting it to these things. Like, you get to a weird communism type thing.
Suddenly we're paying tax instead of entertainers.
Yes. Which then is handled by governments, and governments mostly use that money for
also
war.
because we get a choice of entertainment.
That's right.
I don't have to watch football.
Yeah. No.
That's okay that someone's watching football.
Yeah.
But like, when you tell me you're going to take my money whether I watch football or not to pay football, all of a sudden I really get mad at football.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That's where we're going to have a problem with what you're saying.
Yeah,
Maybe
precisely.
I don't give a shit about green farming.
Well, no, I'm just saying that this is where capitalism's leading us down a weird garden path, right? Where, hey, the greater good isn't a $400 billion entertainment industry. The greater good would be a $400 million
you have
green
to
incentive.
Change what people enjoy.
You have to get people to agree on something, which we know in our capitalist environment that's just not going to happen.
Well, it may
Too late
happen.
for agreeing.
It may happen as the market dictates, because you see this in places that
The market won't dictate climate
Yeah, it will.
reform until it's too late.
No, it will. For sure it will. It is. Everywhere. It is everywhere. Like fusion technology is like the best that it's ever been. Hydrogen fuel cells are coming along. Solar panels, like the market and the marketing around these things are far more effective than I think we give them credit for.
We're building I think we're building the biggest solar farm in Canada right now.
Yeah.
My buddy was working on the
and we're
project a couple weeks ago.
Alberta. We're Texas of Canada.
Yeah.
So
Well-
it's one of those things where it's like, I don't totally agree, but I can understand that if we get stuck in that, it's because of us, and we're
Yeah.
ruining it for ourselves. You know what I mean?
Let's have a look here. I want to Google something real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you get money out of sports and celebrity and stuff to give it to other things, though. That's
Well, I think you'd have
slippery
to
slope.
you'd have to get to a place where those players and things like that, they get to a place culturally where they understand
I
and
don't
they
think
assign
that's
their own
going to
capital.
happen, because I say this all the time. It's like, what company has ever said, it's okay, just take my money, I don't need it?
None?
No, that's never going to happen. No person has ever said that.
Unless they can benefit from it.
Yeah, well, what's the benefit to them?
Tax write-offs.
Sure.
That's pretty much it.
So that's not helpful.
It's just not paying the government by paying someone else. But it is helpful, right? Because then you can assign your money where you want it to go.
Sure. Which you could argue we should be able to do anyway. But
Yeah.
if you
There we
did
go.
that, then society's social structures would crumble.
More than
Because
likely,
I
yeah.
would never pay for half the shit my tax dollars are paying for.
Yes.
Not
Accurate.
half, more than half.
Yeah.
In fact, I've gone on record saying my tax dollars get me nothing. I've
close.
said this before. They get me almost nothing. Of course, they do get me some things. But like when you're angry at how much you're paying in taxes, it's
Healthcare,
like,
roads, and law enforcement are pretty handy.
guess what? I don't want to pay for 90% of this shit, and it's the first thing I'm going to stop paying for if you let me.
I think if it was run well, I think you'd be happy to pay it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is the minute you give people the choice to
Yeah,
pay
yeah, yeah.
for what they
Yeah.
want, society will crumble.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
So
Goodness.
there is a limit to how much freedom you should be able to have. So when you say, "Oh, I'm going to donate to this cause I like, but then I won't have to pay taxes," can you imagine if all of us could do that? I'm going to donate to body mod research and nothing else. How useful is that to most of society?
We're
Not at all.
we're not fixing our farmer pasture problem, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why people leaving it to people to decide is not a great idea.
Not usually, or it hasn't been.
It's
Because
going to get really weird and niche with most people.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, my buddy Vince is supporting nothing but VTube channels, virtual streamers.
yeah,
Right? Like, it just gets really particular then.
yeah, and those streamers only support the Lamborghini dealerships.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like bizarre stuff, like maybe you would invest your money properly, we'll say. Someone else is now investing in cheesies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's you need government overhead to decide where these things are going to
course.
some extent.
For example, our government in this newest budget is rolling out some federal level childcare support,
Yep.
which actually, so again, this is super expensive, and the right wingers hate it, but it should be a right wingers love it thing, because the concept here allows way more people to get in the workforce. It allows way less people to be stuck at home watching their 1 to 5 year olds instead of entering the workforce.
Yeah, anytime I hear of a new government program, I'm like, well, we'll see how this looks in 5 years, because most of them run terribly.
Yeah.
Most of them, and that's sad. That's
Well-
just sad. Especially when, like, in something like this, when you think, oh, childcare, that should be run well.
There's already a ton of childcare subsidies and supports that do run well.
course.
This will be replacing a lot of those.
Well, subsidies are
This will be making it more
private, right?
uniform
Like
for people.
subsidies are like the person gets money to
That's right.
invest in something that
Oh, this will
they
work
deem as
this'll-
safe, right? Whereas if it's a government-run facility, it's the government is
Oh, it's not a
deciding.
problem
facility.
with-
No,
the
it'll
problem
work the
is-
same way.
Oh, okay.
It'll work the same way where you have to, as a parent, you will apply for this type of childcare, you will submit your government forms,
and then you could be a
Got it.
stay-at-home parent kind of thing.
and they're well, no, you're going to submit those forms to whatever
To the care
child care
facility.
you're using,
Yeah.
and they will then get money from the government for looking after your kid.
Yep.
Which should work just fine and should free up a lot
The
of people.
problem
to
I'm
the workforce.
having with like a lot of parenting these days is that it's not parenting.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
just I'm on my phone and this kid is here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty well.
Right? And unless you can fix that, you can give that person as much money as you want. Because I can understand where they're coming from.
You're not giving that person any money. You're giving the childcare money so that this person can go to work instead of sitting on their phone while their kid fucks
yeah,
around.
I got you.
Yeah. You're getting this burnt
See, I was
out
going the other
person
way.
instead of
Yeah.
being trapped in their house with their kids. You're giving them childcare so they can go the fuck to work and
So
not be
instead
in
of
poverty
having to
until
worry
their
about
kids
how I'm going to
graduate.
pay for this $800 a month.
That's it.
Gotcha.
Which is one of the wildest things that we haven't sorted out.
Exactly.
Like, it's wild.
I'm so pro because it's a
Yeah, a
huge
lot of
amount.
times-
It's a huge expense.
A lot
yeah.
of times it'll cost more to go to work.
That's
Yeah,
what
of
I'm
course.
saying.
It
And
doesn't make-
we're finally going to get together and fix that shit.
Well,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah.
I'm down if we do.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not beneficial. Like, how many people pop out a couple of kids at 21 and then just spend the next 20 years in poverty?
It happens a lot.
Whereas if both parents can be out improving their careers and bringing in an income, they're going to be in way better shape at 31 than they would otherwise.
Yeah.